Hey y'all, it's your girl Missniecytv, and I'm here to do a review for Divorce Sistas Season 1, Episode 6. The episode picks up where it left off, and Myron's still on the phone talking about some, "Are you there, babe?" Then Pastor Jeff grabs the phone, and he's like, "Myron, what are you talking about?" And Myron's like, "Oh my God, Pastor, I thought I was dialing Denise. I hit redial." Yeah, Denise is a cover-up. I still think y'all do independent. The look on Rashida's face is like she don't believe none of this, and she's probably over the whole argument that she had with Jeff anyway, so she rushes in the house. Once Rashida goes in the house, Pastor Jeff is on the phone with Myron, and he's like, "Why did you do that, man? Now my wife is looking at me crazy." Myron is still trying to be apologetic, and he's like, "Oh my God, I'm sorry, Pastor. I really thought I dialed Denise. I'm sorry, it won't happen again." Myron switches the subject, and he's like, "I did call a doctor to see if they could look at your arm." Pastor Jeff is like, "I'm fine, and I don't need a doctor." Myron is like, "Well, you know it's my job to take care of you." Pastor Jeff is like, "I told you I don't need a doctor, and you don't listen." I think that even if Pastor Jeff isn't messing with Myron, I do think that Myron has feelings for him, and he thinks that he's gonna go somewhere. But yeah, because why would he place emphasis on the fact that it was his job to take care of Pastor Jeff? Pastor Jeff gets off the phone with Myron, and he gets in his car, and he prays for his marriage. He's like, "God, help me get through this. I don't want to lose my wife. I want to do everything I can to fix my marriage. I love my wife so much, and I don't want to lose her." And as he's praying, he gets a call from Tiffany. Tiffany is basically like, "Where's Rashida? I've been calling her all night, but she hasn't answered the phone." It's like, "I know." And then they go into the whole Naomi situation about how Naomi's out of jail now, and Pastor Jeff is like, "Well, she's gonna have a lot to pay because Franklin's coming after everything she got." Then they get back on the subject of Rashida, and Pastor Jeff is like, "She slept in the car." Tiffany's like, "Why? What did you do?" Tiffany's like, "Why would you cheat on her?" Pastor Jeff is like, "I didn't cheat on her, and I would never do that because I couldn't live with myself and the guilt." Tiffany's like, "Well, what did you do then?" Pastor Jeff is like, "Well, we had a heated argument last night after the banquet, and we came home, and I was frustrated, and I didn't open her door." And he's basically like, "Sorry to break it to you, Jeff, but it's over." Pastor Jeff is like, "All because I didn't open her door." Tiffany's like, "It's deeper than the door." Jeff is like, "Well, tell me what's going on." Tiffany's like, "I can't do that, and I think it'd be best if she tell you herself." It's like, "Tiffany, just please tell me what's going on." Tiffany's like, "My advice to you is go in there right now and try to fix it." Bet she's in the house right now in front of her mirror trying to convince herself to stay with you. Pastor Jeff is like, "Because I didn't open her door." Tiffany's like, "Once again, it's deeper than the door." Then Pastor Jeff is like, "Please just tell me what's going on." So Tiffany goes into this sad story about how Rashida was in college and she was in love with a man, and they went to a frat party, and they was making out in a room, right? And his frat brothers came in, and they sexually assaulted her. When she begged to get out the room, one of the guys held the door shut, and she vowed to never be with a man who doesn't open doors. So Tiffany's like, "Until she met you, and you were the guy that opened every door for her until last night, so you definitely hit a trigger for her. So I would suggest that you go in the house." Jeff is like, "Oh my God, I didn't know." Tiffany is like, "Yeah, because she only told me in Geneva." Tiffany is like, "Don't tell her that I told you." Then we see Jeff go in the house, and he goes to talk to Rashida, and he's like, "Baby, I'm so sorry I didn't open the door for you. Promise it won't happen again. Look at me, I love you." He's like, "I know I haven't been the perfect husband, and I haven't been a great husband, but the reason is because I'm tired of living in your shadow. I feel insecure. I'm not making enough money. You do everything at the church. It takes a lot for people to like me, and they adore you." Jeff is like, "So yeah, I'm struggling in your shadow a little bit." He's like, "Rashida, say something." Rashida's like, "Okay." But then she's like, "So are you having an affair with Myron?" Jeff is like, "No, not." Rashida's like, "Are you attracted to Myron?" Jeff is like, "No, and why would you even ask?" Rashida's like, "Are you having an affair with Myron?" Jeff is like, "No, and I put that on the life of my kids, and I'm not attracted to him or any other man." Now, there are some women at church that I'm attracted to, and Rashida's like, "Who?" He's like, "Benita, Carla, but I only have eyes for you, so I would never do anything." Rashida's like, "I just need a minute to process this. Jeff, you should go to work." Jeff is like, "Rashida, I know I messed up, but promise me that you'll be here when I get back." Rashida's like, "Where else?" I'm like, then we see Geneva call Rashida, and she's like, "I've been trying to call you all night." Rashida's like, "I know." Rashida's like, "It's been a long and tough night." Geneva's like, "So y'all had an argument?" Rashida's like, "No, we don't have arguments." Geneva's like, "So heated discussion." Rashida's like, "Yeah." Then Geneva's like, "Well," Geneva tells Rashida that she's following the girl from Anika's school, the one that is apparently the yoga instructor, and she has a yoga studio. Rashida's like, "You need to go home." She's like, "Have you even showered?" Geneva's like, "No, I haven't showered, and I still have the same dress on." Rashida's like, "Go home." The only reason you're doing this is because you're trying to find a reason to make yourself feel better about Javon. Rashida's like, you shouldn't even be doing that because you have a husband. Then Geneva, of course, goes back to the whole Javon situation, and she's like, he's only doing this to make me jealous. Rashida's like, you think so? I really think he's into it. Rashida's like, you need to go home, get dressed, and come see me at the church. Geneva's like, well, I have a client first, but I'll be there. Rashida's like, go home. Geneva's like, yeah, I'm gonna go home, but she's pulling up, so I gotta see what she's doing. Rashida's like, go home. Then we see Pastor Jeff come back in the room, and Rashida's like, I thought you left. Jeff is like, I was sitting in the car, but I realized that I want us to ride. Rashida's like, I'm not riding with you to the hospital. Jeff is like, well, I can drop you off at the church. Rashida's like, where's all this coming from? Then Jefferson goes on to say, I know I don't say it enough, but last night you looked amazing. You were the most beautiful one in it. Rashida's like, Jeff, what did you say? And what did you do? Because you don't talk like that, so what did you do? It's like, I didn't do anything. This is about last night, and I know I made a huge mistake, but I'm trying to make it up for it. Is there something wrong with that? Rashida's like, who have you been talking to? Jeff is like, what are you talking about? Jeff is like, you stayed in the car all night, so it had to mean something major. Rashida's like, who have you been talking to? It wasn't Naomi, because you can't stand her. It wasn't Bridget, because she doesn't know. It wasn't Geneva, because she's been in her bag. Jefferson's like, so yeah, what has Geneva been in her bag about? Rashida's like, don't change the subject. So she grabs the phone and she's like, I'm about to call Tiffany, and Jeff is like, don't do that. Rashida's like, so it was Tiffany. Jeff is like, yeah. Rashida's like, I wish anyone had done that. Jeff is like, why? Rashida's like, because you're going to start treating me like a victim now and feeling sorry for me. Jeff is like, I don't feel sorry. Rashida's like, yes, you do. And this is the reason why. Jeff is like, I'm doing this because I'm truly sorry. So he gets down on his knees and he's like, baby, listen. She did tell me about the fact. I'm so sorry that I didn't open the door for you. I promise with every single breath in my body that I'm going to open every door from you now on. Jeff is like, you know what? I'm going to tell you what happened. I was in the car praying for our marriage and how we can make this work. And as I was praying, Tiffany called me. She never calls me. So I take that as a sign that this was a way to fix our marriage. How much of an asshole I was for not opening the door for you. You remember when we were younger and you were first fell in love and how much we were on fire for God? Let's get back to that. It's just me and you. It's just me and you. Over at the church, we see Bridget walking in and she sees her friend Calvin sitting there. And she's like, I'm so sorry this happened. She's like, you alright? Calvin's like, yeah, but where Vaughn at? Bridget's like, I don't know. Calvin's like, really? You really don't know? Bridget's like, no, I put him out, so I don't know where he at. Calvin could tell that Bridget's lying, so she's like, okay, he's at his mama's house. Calvin's like, so where she live at? Bridget's like, I don't know. And Bridget's like, why would I tell you so you can send the cops over there? Calvin's like, you know you deserve better. Bridget's like, who are you to tell me what I deserve? Calvin's like, well, you know you're going to jail, right? Then that's when Pastor Jeff and Rashida walk in, and Jeff is like, who's going to jail? We got to say Myron was standing there too, and of course he had to insert himself, and he was like, Pastor, I told him that you were in a meeting. Pastor Jeff is like, it's alright. Then Calvin's like, hey Pastor, let me talk to you for a minute. Pastor Jeff is like, okay. So Rashida and Bridget go back to her office. Rashida's like, what was that about? Who's going to jail? And Bridget tells the whole story about what happened with Vaughn and Calvin, how they got into a fight, and Rashida's like, I didn't know he was that violent. Bridget's like, well, me either. Rashida's like, well, a lot of people his age are. She's like, bless Pastor Jeff for dealing with him. Bridget's like, yeah, enough about me, though. You and Pastor Jeff came in here all lovely. I guess you had a great night. Rashida's like, well, no, it was a rough. Bridget's like, I love when you and the pastor are good together. It gives me so much hope. Rashida's like, I love that, too. Bridget is trying to pry into her business, and Rashida's not having it. Rashida's like, what I need you to do is contact the publisher to see about this manuscript and contact Naomi. I tried to call her 4 times, but she can't answer. But just like I tried to call her too, but she's not answering me either, so what you want me to do? Rashida's like, so we're going over there tonight, but just like make sure you call first, because you know how she is. Over at Geneva's, we see her outside getting in her car, and as she's getting in her car, she gets a call. It is from Tiffany, because Tiffany's like, so that's how you do me, I see you're in there. Geneva's basically like, Tiffany, what are you doing here? Tiffany's like, well, I'm here to show this house. Geneva's like, I didn't know this was your listing. Tiffany's like, well, the person called and asked for me by name, so I'm here. Then Tiffany starts talking about Javon, and I think she only did that to see what Geneva was going to do to see if she got a reaction. She definitely got some sort of reaction, and then the person that's trying to buy the house pulls up, and of course it's Javon. He has a bouquet of roses, and he hands them to Tiffany. He's doing everything he can to make a scene to make Geneva jealous. He's basically like, if I buy this house, we're going to be neighbors. Isn't that a good idea, Geneva? Geneva's like, so let me know how that goes. Tiffany's like, so isn't it a good idea? Geneva leaves and there's just Javon talking to Tiffany, and Tiffany's in there talking about the listing, and he's trying to make flirtatious jokes with her. He's like, I can't wait to kiss you. Tiffany's like, well, I'm only here for professional reasons right now. Javon's like, that's okay. It might happen on our date. I hope that Tiffany finally wakes up and see that Javon is trying to use her to make Geneva jealous. And I hope that Tiffany doesn't get her heart broken in the process. Then we see Geneva and we find out that she's not actually on her way to work. She's on her way to the yoga studio to confront the girl about talking to William. And the girl's like, do I know you? Geneva's like, yeah, I'm Anika's mom. She's like, oh, your husband's William. Geneva's like, yeah. She's like, well, he picks up your daughter from the drop-off. Find out that her name is Yara. And Geneva's like, well, I want to arrange a play date for our daughters. Anika seems to really like your daughter, and I think Geneva's like, let's exchange numbers. Yara's like, okay. Then Geneva slides in there. Does my husband already have your number? Yara's like, no. Geneva on this slick as they're exchanging numbers. She goes to the recording app, she presses recording, and she puts her phone down. So she leaves out the facility, and she comes back and she's like, I think I left my phone. She grabs her phone, she goes back to the car, she listens to the recording, and the recording is basically like, I just had the weirdest meetup. I'll tell you about it when I get home. I love you. Geneva thinks that she's talking to William, but I think Yara's actually over at the church. Geneva finally makes it there, and she has a meeting with Rashida. Bridget comes in the room, and she's like, well, why can't I hear this? Rashida's like, it ain't for you. She basically talks about the situation with her, Javon and Tiffany, and she's like, I don't want Tiffany to be with Javon. We gotta figure out a way for her to get away from him. Rashida's like, who is we? This is a you problem. Rashida's like, you really want to be with Javon that bad? Geneva's like, I don't know. He excites me. He turns me on to things that he does. And William is just boring. And I'm just like, this is going to be a big mess. Rashida's like, the only reason you think William is cheating on you is because you're trying to make yourself feel good about the whole Javon situation. Geneva's like, enough. I'm just bored of my marriage. Is this what marriage is supposed to be? Rashida's like, don't let Javon be the reason why you lose the best thing that ever happened to you. They get off the subject of Javon and they start talking about the book that Rashida is writing. Over in Bridget's office, she gets a text from Vaughn basically like telling her that he wants to unalive himself. And so she starts panicking. She starts trying to call him. He doesn't answer the phone. This is when Rashida and Geneva walk into her office to talk about the book, but they realize that something's wrong with Bridget. She can barely get the words out. So she shows Rashida her phone. Rashida rushes to Pastor Jeff to see if Pastor Jeff can help. They all go in the room. Pastor Jeff talks to Vaughn. He's like, I don't want to do this. Vaughn tells Bridget that she doesn't love him and she doesn't care about him. And his mom doesn't care about him and all this other stuff. And Pastor Jeff is trying to talk him down off the ledge, right? He's not trying to hear all this. Pastor Jeff is like, we could get you some help. We could get you a place to stay. Vaughn is like, I'm not staying in no shelter. Pastor Jeff is like, it's not going to be a shelter. Vaughn is not trying to hear what Pastor Jeff has to say anymore, so he's like, pass the phone to Bridget. He passes the phone to Bridget. He's like, I love you, Bridget, but I can't do this anymore. And the next thing we know, we hear pop, and Bridget drops her phone and she starts crying and screaming. Let me know what you guys think about the episode. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, turn on your bell notifications. Bye!